If the thought of a dance photo shoot fills you with self-doubt, how should I pose? What should I wear? Will I even look like a real dancer? This episode is for you. For a lot of adult dancers, a professional photo shoot can feel exciting and overwhelming in equal measure. You want beautiful images that capture how far you've come, but knowing how to prepare and show up confidently in front of the camera can be a bit daunting. Today, I'm joined by Katie Ging, a professional dance photographer with a true gift for helping dancers of every level look and feel their absolute best. We talk about how to get ready for your shoot, from gathering inspiration images to choosing a location and outfit that feels authentically you. Then we get into the shoot itself, the most common posing mistakes dancers make and how to fix them, and how to avoid stiff or frozen facial expressions so you can look relaxed and confident in every shot. Whether you're preparing for your first photo shoot ever, or just want to get the most out of your next one, this conversation will leave you feeling prepared and excited to step in front of the lens. Let's get into it. Thank you so much for being here, Katie. I am so excited to talk to you about this topic. I can think of no one better. You just get such amazing photos. And one of the things that I absolutely love about your work is at the intensives where I've been photographed by you after the fact, seeing everyone post their pictures. You just have a way of making everyone look incredible no matter what their level is. So from beginner dancers that maybe have only been dancing for a year, all the way up through people that have been dancing, that dance pretty professionally, everyone gets stunning photos. And I think that that is just such a testament to how great you are at your work. So I'm really excited to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So maybe we could start at the very beginning of the
Yeah.
process. If someone is going to be doing their first professional photo shoot, do you think that it's best to look for someone that has specific experience working with dancers versus someone who has just done like headshots or other types of photography? Like, would you say that that's a pretty specific skill set that you would want to look for?
I would. I mean, I would definitely, if you can work with a dance photographer who has dance knowledge, or maybe their kid was a dancer or something like that, 100%. There are photographers that are amazing that have no dance experience, and it's going to be a completely different view and look. But I think if, as an adult dancer, and maybe you're still learning and figuring things out, you don't know how to pose yourself. So, somebody who has that background should be able to give you a little bit more guidance than you would need if you had been doing this your entire life.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Because I think it's very different, like you mentioned earlier. I think the benefit of someone who knows how to coach dancers through that process. Like, I know it's so lovely taking or doing photo shoots with you because you speak dancer language of like, okay, fourth position, turnout, you know how to how to say it in a way that we would understand as dancers. So I found that really helpful in working with you. One of the biggest questions that I have had in the past and that I've also talked to other adult dancers about is, what do we wear to a photo shoot? So obviously that could be very subjective, but even just footwear wise, like barefoot, slippers, point shoes, are there tips or recommendations that you have for what kind of footwear you would wear depending on the types of poses you want to do or like the style you're going for?
Yeah, I think they're all of them are good in my way, and I think it depends on, like, what it's always to me is what you're most comfortable in, right? Like, if you have never been on point, I probably wouldn't recommend wearing point shoes for the first time, but if you just got fitted for point shoes at one of these retreats, I would actually wear them, but say I've never been on point. I just want to show that I have point shoes, and then we'll find like a pose for you to do. Barefoot, I love barefoot. I think that's very fun. And I think we had discussed a little bit. It's great when you're inside. Outside, barefoot to me like makes me a nervous wreck just because depending on what city you're in or the streets or whatever. Like, I do a lot of street photography too, that I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want anybody to get hurt or injured or something like that. But I think yeah, it's more depending on your comfort level. But if you have the time, I would try to do two of them. Like, maybe do flat and point. That cuts into your time in a session normally, but if you can, you will get different options, and options are always good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love what you said too about, like, even if you just got your point shoes, not letting that be a deterrent. You can do some really beautiful
Yeah.
poses that are very simple and like you can step up onto your shoes, in a you can kind of cheat getting into positions when you're doing a photo shoot in a different way versus like when you're taking class. It's like you don't have
Yes.
to do susu into your releve position. Like you can step onto point. You can, there's ways to get the pictures. And so I love that it's not like you have to be an advanced dancer or wear point shoes in a photo shoot. You can make it look really lovely even with simple poses.
Well, I even think about like with Cam and friends and when we were doing that, and all of everybody's favorite poses were definitely the ones sitting on the floor, crossing your legs, holding your with a point shoe. Like it was so simple, but it was so beautiful. Like
Yeah.
it's compact, it frames well. Like so I wouldn't be afraid to wear whatever shoe you'd like to wear. Whatever you're comfortable in, for sure. Even with clothing too, whatever you're comfortable in.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there, because you've done so many of these photo shoots, I mean, even at like the intensives, you're doing what, usually like 50, 60 dancers in the
Yeah,
course
yeah.
of a
It's
few
a
days.
lot.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of different things as far as like what people choose to wear, fabrics, colors. Are there things, I guess specifically we could talk about doing a photo shoot in an intensive situation where maybe you have like the rolling backdrop or you're in a studio. Are there any fabrics or colors or things that you say this photographs really beautifully? This is a really fun idea. Because I think sometimes people are just kind of at a loss of like, I don't even have ideas of where to start. So if you have any suggestions where you're like, I've seen dancers do this and it looks great on camera.
I would say bringing something that's sentimental to you or important to you is definitely cool. Like I think of the shoots that we've done, like somebody brought like rocks or emeralds or something. I would have never thought like let's hold rocks in these photos and it's going to be ballet related, but they were super cool. Somebody brought pearls, somebody was a ribbon dancer and brought ribbon and like that was hard to photograph but very cool. If you're not going to use those props for everything, but they're interesting, fabric is cool and I don't think at least when we're doing these retreats and stuff and I'm working with adult dancers, it does not have to be specific to ballet. Like, do you remember Mary Ellen? I don't know if she's lovely. She would show up in like a Chanel dress, and I was like, "This looks awesome!" And like, if you want to wear ballet shoes with that's great, or point shoes or something. Like, you can do whatever you'd like and you're comfortable with, and what makes sense to you would be my recommendation.
Yeah, it was really fun. It hadn't really occurred to me before I saw other people do it to see people wear street clothes in their
Yeah,
photo
shoes are
shoots.
great.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like I know some of the girls wore really beautiful dresses, like you mentioned. Mary Ellen wore like a gorgeous like Chanel dress, and then
Yeah.
some people wore other types of just more casual street clothes. And it is a really fun idea. So for anyone listening who maybe wouldn't have thought of that because it did not occur to me to do that, and I'm actually thinking about this year for the label intensive that maybe I want to go more that direction and do
Yeah.
like a fun dress or something like that.
Fun dresses are good, and, like, I even think more, like, there's favorite photos that I have that are, like, the leg warmers, that are, like, the old school, like, Balanchine photo and stuff like those, you can focus on different parts, it doesn't have to be your whole body, or it doesn't have to be the whole thing to tell the story of, like, what you wanna show off, like, even when we were talking about point shoes, right? Like, if you just are on point, we can just take photos of your feet on flat in point shoes and you can be like, I did it. Like, that's so cool. Like, I've never gotten to wear point shoes before. And now I have a photo of me in point shoes. I love it. Like, I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love that you called that out, that you can do more, just smaller photographs of yourself. What am I trying to say? Like close-ups. That's the word.
Yeah, close ups.
Close-ups
Yeah.
of specific parts of your body and things, because I think that's another thing too that you might just assume going into is that you're going to get full body shots, which obviously, of course, you can, and that's great. But those close-up photos can just be so artistic and beautiful, and the types of things that you could hang up in your house and people would come over and like not even know it's you, and you're like, look at my
Exactly.
feet.
Yes. And that's so cool that then you can tell the story of what you got to do. And I was at this intensive and I met an old ballet dancer. And I think that's like really interesting. And it's even if I feel like upper body or something like that, it does not have to be the whole frame to show that you're a ballet dancer and make it really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and also too, one of the things that, again, did not occur to me until I came to the intensive and saw other people doing it is, like, you don't have to have your hair and everything, like, pulled back the way you would for class
No.
too. You can do with your hair down. There's just so many ways that you can do it. I think when I came in, I had a very specific idea of like, "Oh, this is a dance photo shoot. I'm gonna be in dance clothes with my hair in a bun." I think when it's your first time, you maybe feel like that's what you're supposed to do, but you can really do so
It's
many other
yours.
things. For the first time this year, I pulled my hair down, and they were my favorite photos.
Love it. Yes, I was just looking at those photos and those I love them too. Yeah, and like, yeah, wear your hair down, wear it up. If you want to put on big earrings, put on big earrings. Like if you
Yeah.
want to wear an oversized sweater, it's really kind of whatever you want. And it's a good point. Like that needs to be clear to like just make it you, whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the more of yourself you put into it, the more you'll love your photos. Because when you look at
Yes.
them, you'll really see yourself. I think sometimes when you have different photos and you're kind of trying to figure out, like, why do some photos really resonate, and you look at them and you really feel it's like it's always the photos that I feel the most like myself when I look at those
Yes.
pictures. I'm like, "Oh, that's me." Like, that is very much me. And so I think, leaning into that and in advance thinking of the things that, like, what do you feel the most yourself, the most comfortable, and you'll get great pictures from that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, like for sure.
Thank you to Frenchies for sponsoring today's episode. Frenchies hairpins have been a staple in my ballet routine for years, so when they launched their new premium scrunchies, I knew I had to have one. And they went all out with materials, real silk and luxurious cotton velvet. I've been sleeping in my fluffy ballet pink silk scrunchie every night, and my hair has never been happier. The silk reduces friction, minimizes frizz, and prevents creasing while you sleep, which means less damage over time, and hair that looks and feels healthier when you wake up. For adult dancers who are constantly pulling their hair up, that kind of overnight recovery matters more than you might think. And of course, I have to mention the hairpins that started it all and remain my absolute go-to for ballet. Their unique velvet coating creates a no-slip grip that will hold your ballet bun or French twist in place through a full day in the studio, sweating, jumping, and turning. Plus, they're gentle on your scalp and come in color matching shades, so they literally disappear into your hair. So whether you want to upgrade your ballet bun or your bedtime routine, visit FrenchiesHairpins.com, the official brand for ballerinas who love a good hair moment. Use code AFTERCLASS10 for 10% off your order. Links are in the show notes. So moving to the actual day of the shoot, how should dancers prepare? Should they warm up? Like, are there different things that you would say doing this in advance will help you get the most out of your photo shoot session?
I definitely think you should warm up. I definitely think you should get there a little bit early. Not too early though, because I do think that there's that gap of you're there too early and stressing out and overthinking it to like, I'm just gonna go into it and like we're gonna rock it. Like
Yeah.
there's that. There's crazy things that you wouldn't think about, like even doing ab exercises or push-ups before your shoot. It sounds really stupid, but it does work. Like on a lot of the bigger fashion shoots I would do, you'll see the men or the women just pushing it out because their guns will show up and like your abs will just engage in a different way.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend like a little bit of that.
And for if you're going to be doing it on point, do you think like doing a point warm up or
Yeah,
like
definitely, I would say if you're going to do anything on point, you definitely need to warm up for that more than you would for something on flat. Just more because your shoes could be cold. Like, it depends on what
yeah,
climate you're in too. Like when I started my photography journey, I had a private studio in my parents' garage in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it's cold there all the time. If you don't know anything about Pittsburgh, it's very, very cold. And sometimes we would do photo shoots. It'd be 20 degrees in our garage, literally, and it'd be cement on the ground. So, like, yeah, you definitely need to warm up for that a little bit more. If you're in California and you're walking back and forth to all these things, like, not as much. I think you got to gauge that a little bit on your own, but warming up is, I don't think, ever going to hurt.
yeah. I know for me with my point shoes especially, I need a few minutes just for the shoes to get
To like
warm.
work, yeah.
Yeah, especially too, because obviously in photos you want your feet to look as pointed as possible, and so having your shoes be a little bit warmer always makes it a little bit easier, at least for me to point, or even just like wearing your booties, over your pointe
Yeah.
shoes
If you
before.
have that stuff, that's all very helpful too, or like leg warmers, just keeping your muscles
Yeah.
a little bit warm, I think is great.
Yeah. So what are some of the most common posing mistakes that you see adult dancers make, and what are the recommended adjustments? Like, are there things that you see people, especially adults who maybe are more beginner or don't have photo shoot experience, that they come in and things that you have to kind of coach them through?
I think the coaching side of it more comes from nerves. I don't think that anybody's doing anything really wrong. It's just we're all nervous. And I said we just don't get our photos taken by ourselves a lot. So I do recommend, like I said, don't come in with anything too crazy hard. Or if you want to do something like that, just keep it very minimum. Like that would be my recommendation. And be open to in terms of posing, like, you might be more classically trained or you might be more balancing trained, and like be willing to change it up a little bit because there's a little more breath in different things. So I would recommend that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things that surprised me the most with having my first dance photo shoot, and even just every time, is the difference between things being technically
Correct.
correct
Yes.
versus what translates on camera. And so having to be open to adjusting your positions and changing your angles and doing things a little bit differently than what is considered like a perfectly placed position is definitely like an interesting experience. So,
Yeah, exactly. That's where like you think it has to be this or that. And but that's not it for the photo. Like you might have to way overcross or really open it up
yeah.
or open up your hip, which is something think you're not supposed to do. But for photos, like you definitely have to do it. So and when going back to what we were talking about before, which is like, yeah, working with a dance photographer, they'll know that a little bit more. So if you're not working with a dance photographer, they're just not going to know as well as somebody who has the background to be like, okay, this feels wrong. But I promise you, like, it looks really, really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the more you're willing to be coached, like you said earlier, not coming in with such a set way of like, this is how it has to look, but being willing to get that feedback from the photographer. Like, it's a very, at least working with you, like, it's a very collaborative
Yes.
experience being in a photo shoot. It's a lot of like, tilt your chin this way, lift your left arm, drop your shoulder. It's a lot of feedback. And so I think like the more you can know that coming in and be open to that kind of collaboration, the better your photos will turn out.
For sure. I think that any ballet shoot that I've ever done, whether it's with a tiny human or an adult dancer, like collaborating is the better thing. Like even these little kids I work with that they might be like 4 years old. And I always ask, like with any client, do you have a pose you want to do? And they're like, I want to do this. And I was like, great, let's just try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? Like it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any tips that you have even for adults preparing their poses coming in? Like, do you think that it's something that you should, if you see one that you really like, actually try to do it at home before? Or like, do you have any kind of best practices for knowing which poses might work in a photo shoot?
Yeah, if you have some things you like said you really want to do and you're like, I want this framed or I want this to even be a profile picture or make it to social media or something, and you know how you want yourself to look, I definitely practice it. It's not going to hurt, right? And then your photographer should be able to help coach you get into the position that you want. You said you want a tendu to the back and your arms open. Like just know how to kind of get into it and then it can be tweaked. But just so you feel comfortable getting into it, because it is nerve wracking for every
Yeah.
photo shoot. Like I don't like I get photographed a lot just out of habit to make myself better trained, and I'm still nervous every single shoot that I do, whether it's like fake engagement shoot or a dance shoot or something, and I'm like, why am I so nervous? Like I actually have done this before and coached people on how to do it, but I definitely something to think about.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I know there's been a couple of times where I've seen something on social media and I've screenshotted it and been like, "Oh, this is great." And then I've tried to recreate it at home in the mirror and I'm like, I cannot make that look good, so we're just gonna delete that one. So I think sometimes it can help you kind of weed out what may not be realistic.
For
Yeah.
sure. I think, yeah, I've tried at home, and if you're like, this is not going to happen. But like, I also appreciate if people bring it into me. And like, that is part of my job is to be like, okay, like, usually for me, I give it like 3 tries and I'm like, oh, it's not going to happen. Not because of you, just because like the pose might just not be the most flattering pose. Like on Misty Copeland, it is, but on maybe the rest of us, not as much, right?
Yeah.
Like, or it might take a little bit more time than we have to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think too a lot of the photo shoots, like, because I would imagine it's similar if you're gonna do this at an intensive or even maybe if you're just booking a session, they're probably shorter than you think they're going to be, and so, like, the more prepared you can come with, "These are the types of poses," and the more collaborative you can be and, like, taking the feedback, shifting your body, doing whatever, the more photos and poses you can get through. It's always amazing to me though, because I think the intensives that I've worked with you at, the photo shoot slots are like 10 minutes, and I always feel like it's plenty of time to get
Oh, good.
several poses. So like you can get a lot done, but I think knowing in advance that it may be a shorter time slot, so managing your expectations of like this isn't going to be an hour of figuring things out can also help you feel more prepared.
Yeah, I agree that. And like, yeah, knowing that it's short is important and knowing that you can get a lot in a short amount of time though. And that's like, I like when I do the photo shoots, I do like to start very simple and kind of work up to what you want. So is it simple, maybe being on the ground, tendu this way, that like I do all of them because those all do look good. It doesn't matter if you're 85 years old or you're 4 years old. They
Yeah.
look good, right? Like
Yeah.
I think about all the ones from me in my childhood, and I was like, it wasn't the ones where I was maybe into soda shaw or something. Like, that's cool, but like the ones I like better are not that. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind is,
Yeah.
yeah, come somewhat prepared, but don't be afraid to let direction take you too, because like you might come with a pose that you thought was awesome. I'm like, that's really cool, but can I switch it up a little bit? Because I think this is going to make it a little bit cooler. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you got to try it together, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And that's actually a perfect segue into the next question I was going to ask, which are there certain poses or movements that you see adult dancers like they love trying to do in photo shoots, but typically don't translate that well?
I would say, and this is like kind of across the board for kids or adults, arabesque. For some reason, everybody wants to do an arabesque, and that's kind of the hardest thing to do. Like, I would rather somebody be like, I want to do a social on the cool, like your flexibility level. Let's try that. But an arabesque to me is like the most technical thing you could do. Like, I don't know anybody who's been like, that was a perfect arabesque photo of myself. Like, we look at other people and like, that's really good, but when it's of yourself, you're like, it could be turned out more. My like, there's a million things you could think that were wrong with it, and it doesn't frame super well. So like that's kind of like my pose that I'm like, we could skip it. But if you want to do it, great. And honestly, if you have a lower arabesque, that's even better because when it hits the 90 is where it gets like, I don't know. I prefer the lower one where it's like vertical, like 45-degree arabesque. Good. 90 or above, like I don't love that as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's so helpful because I hope that that can kind of, like, set people free in a way because I think it is one of those poses where you think like, "Oh, that's the ballet pose I wanna do an arabesque." But also, don't feel bad if you take pictures in that position and you don't like them because it is
Yep.
a really hard position to look good in. I think the times that I've tried to take arabesque photos, I always look really strained in my neck and face, and it just never has come out. So I'm actually really glad to hear that that's not just a me thing.
No, it's an everybody thing. Like I said, I don't know anybody who's like been like, I love that. I love that arabesque. It just like doesn't happen. And like I said, you think about when you're auditioning, arabesque is still the go-to pose because it's the hardest technically. But that's for like a technical reason, not for something you want to frame on your wall. Do it if you want to do an arabesque. I'd love to take a photo of you in an arabesque, but I'm gonna tell you the ones that you're gonna love are not gonna be that one. Let's like, it's never anybody's like, oh, that's the best arabesque ever. Done it, did it. Nailed it.
Do you have any on the flip side of that, I guess, especially if someone is going to be getting their photo taken by someone who is not a dance photographer, so they do need to be a little bit more prepared on their own coming into the shoot. Are there any positions that you're like, this is a simple win that will 90% of the time turn out great and it doesn't take as much effort as an arabesque?
Yes, I would definitely say I always love like a go-to, and like some of that I think comes from like my background, so I have to like try to justify it. I think I love a good cross tendu in plie looking down over your fingers. The line is long. You can turn out your foot and look over your fingertips. I always like a little good down look. I think that's great. And anything on the ground that said the crossed with your feet, like it's everybody's favorite every single time. But if you are working with a photographer who's not dance oriented, I would recommend going in with a little bit more of what you want and saying like, this is what I'm interested in, and then let them kind of play with it. And you might get completely different results, but they could be the most amazing things you've ever wanted. And then I guess I would also, have you ever done improv, like improv dancing? Oh, it's
Mm-mm.
terrifying. But if you can do it and you're willing to do it, like sometimes those are like the coolest photos that like they're not even an actual ballet pose. It's just kind of natural. Like, because with ballet, it is so particular and there are so many things you're thinking about that if you have a minute or two to just keep moving, it might just be different and more flowing than you would think.
Yeah. Yeah. What about jumping in photo shoots? Like, do you have tips for this? This is something that I have always avoided, mainly just because I'm not a jumper in general, but it's always something I've been a little afraid to do in photos. So, do you have any tips for adult dancers that maybe want to try some form of a jump?
Yeah, for sure. Jumping is hard for anybody. It doesn't matter if you're professional or adult dancer or young. Like it's just hard. And it's really hard because you are coming from like you might not be warm enough to jump. Do always do the jumps at the end. Like that's I said, I like to start very simple so I know off the bat that you've gotten like 5, 10 good photos that just are clean. Then you move to maybe some extensions, and then you move to a jump, like jumping is at the end. But I would also keep that simple. I would say, like, do a super sew, do a saute in second, flex your hands. Like, that makes it a way more interesting image. And they're very modern as well. Crossed ones are great. But if you definitely, if jumps are something you're like, I want a jump photo, I would be more warm for that just because it's like you never know what the studio setting's gonna be like. It could be cold. Warm up a little bit more for that. Like I'd almost warm up more for the jumps than I would in point shoes because and if you're doing jumps and point shoes, really warm up then.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there differences in how a dancer would actually achieve doing a jump in a photo shoot? Because, like, obviously in class, it's like we might be doing like tombe pas de glissade, but like if you're trying to do it in a photo shoot, just to kind of prepare people mentally for like what that is actually like if you're trying to capture a jump in a photo shoot.
A jump in a photo shoot, it depends on like again what kind of jump you would want to do. Soda straws are hard to capture no matter what, but in a studio setting, that's way harder, I would say. Like, well, like I would say there's three different settings, right? There's like stage, that's a setting, studio, and then outside. And I think in the studio, like a studio backdrop is the hardest just because a lot of times you're not gonna have enough room to do it.
Yeah, to travel. Yeah.
Yeah, so like keep that in mind if like you're doing a studio shoot. I wouldn't plan on doing anything crazy like that just for yourself. That's not that you can't do cool jumps, but like soda straws, like I said, that would be more difficult because like some of the studios I work in are like 10 by 10 feet in total. Like you
Yeah.
can't unless you're really like able to get into it, that's a little more difficult. Second position is always one that I really, really like. Fourth position is always one that I like, open or crossed. Crossed, I think I prefer super so like that too, but it could be as simple as first position. If you're a new adult ballet dancer, first position, there's a reason it is like the hardest position. Like I always have my husband and his friends when they come over, and I'm like, ballet is so hard. You need to understand. So like this is everything you have to think about, and like you feel every muscle. And if you can jump, in that position, like I think you're accomplished. Like I would feel very successful about that.
So just in general, if you're doing a studio setting shoot, it's probably best to pick jumps where you're going to be going straight up versus
Yes,
like a traveling
yes.
jump.
Vertical is better than horizontal, I would say, in that specific thing. Like a contemporary pas de chat or Italian pas de chat, that one is a little easier to pull off, and that's a good cheat. That's one that like actually you just like what I would do for that is you brush your leg up and then bring this as opposed to trying to get into it because it's a very hard position to get into, but definitely more vertical oriented things than horizontal because so you just don't know how much space you're going to have, and I think it takes a lot of space to get into those really horizontal jumps, I would say.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip even just for someone who maybe has never done a shoot, especially like a studio shoot where thinking more of like compact.
A little more compact, but like if you are, you can do photo shoots in any way that you want to, though. So, like, if you, let's say you're hiring a photographer to do a photo shoot, and you could do it at the studio that you train at if they let you, right? And then you have that room to travel. If you're like, I'm a jumper, I'm going to show off my jumps, that could be really cool. I think that's a better setting for it, or a stage setting is better for it. But a studio, it's not, it's just not as easy to get into, I would say, just because you don't know what it's going to be like.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for facial expressions? Specifically, I'm thinking like eyeline and where you might look, the angle of the chin, and then also just avoiding that kind of deer in the headlights look because I know, we've talked about this, like, it is nerve-wracking getting your
It's
photo
super
taken.
nerve-wracking.
It's
Super
scary.
nerve-wracking.
You're probably gonna be a little bit nervous. None of us want to get our photos back and realize that we look like a deer in the headlights. So, what are your tips or your advice for facial expression that really translates well on camera?
I would say facial expression is still like comes to whatever's natural for you. If you're a super happy person, be like, I like to smile. Like, and if the photographer is like, don't smile, trust them. But also, if you're happier, be happier. For your eye line, definitely, to me, it's always over your middle finger. I don't even know anything. Like if you're sitting on the ground, if you're looking up, like you that way you could change it. But like I definitely look over your middle finger because that naturally like lifts your chin a little bit too, and that's always something that people are a little nervous about. Is that so? That would be one. I would also say it sounds weird, but I promise it makes sense, is that opening your mouth a little bit. So, like, we're natural to purse our lips, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're focusing because ballet's hard. We're really, really trying to do it. But, like, just think about a little bit of breath and a little bit of openness, and it goes a long way. And that's not just for ballet photography, that's for everything. Like, as soon as you have that and it shows a little bit of teeth, so it's not as grimace, right?
Yeah, I feel like facial expression is one of those things that, especially the more difficult the pose, it becomes harder
Yes.
to remember your face when you're being
Well, that's why I
photographed.
think arabesque is the worst one because that's the one you're literally thinking about every single thing. Like, even when I photograph people and they're like, what facial expression do I do in an arabesque? I was like, I don't know. No one likes it. Like, I guess be serious. You're not gonna be like, yay.
Yeah. Wee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way more to think about than you even think it's going to be going into a photo shoot. I'm always like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much to mentally manage," because you're
Yep.
thinking about, of course, as dancers, we're always thinking about our feet or like, "Am I turned out? Is my foot pointed?" You want your lines to look good. You're thinking about, "Is my hair doing anything weird? Like, where do I look? Where is my chin?" It's like it's just so many things. And so I think to your point earlier, like the simpler poses often just look so good, and I think they're the ones that people end up liking the most of themselves because their face is more relaxed because they're not thinking about like, "Oh my god, the line, get the leg up higher." Ooh, it takes some of the strain out.
Yeah, they definitely just, I feel like they translate better. And the thing is, like, going back to the arabesque again, like, you can do a tendu to the back with the same arms, but keep your foot on the ground
Yeah.
and be very pleasant about it, as opposed to, like, let me see how high I can get it. So,
Yeah.
simpler the better for sure.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, and
sure.
I like what you said too about letting your personality come through of like if you're someone that tends to just be a little more like bubbly and smiley, like, yeah, smile in your pictures, like what I was saying earlier. It's the pictures that I think everyone loves the most of themselves are the ones where you look at them and are like, "That's me." And so making sure that, like, your personality comes through. And then, yeah, I think, like, you can also do if you're not wanting them to be, like, full on smile, kind of like the soft
So
smile, right? Like
yeah, soft smile, smizing, right? Where
Spicy.
you're smizing. Well, we were talking about personality again too. Like, I think that matters is like when you're picking out your outfit. Like to me, I really genuinely think the thing that photographs the best is what you're comfortable in. So if you want to wear a leotard that has a llama on it, I think that's awesome. Also, if you've never worn a tutu and you want to wear a tutu, I think that's also awesome. And if you want to wear an oversized grunge t-shirt from 90s punk rock, that like is really cool. Like that's you, like show it. And I think the great thing with all these adult dancers is like I think we had all of them. Like I wish I could show everybody's photo shoots so you could be like everybody did something different and they all look really
Yeah.
cool and like them.
So I would also love, as we kind of wrap up, I would
Yeah.
love to ask you about specifically extensions, because I think this is probably the other big one for adult dancers. If you're maybe a beginner or even just you're an adult working with an adult body. And so your leg might not be up to your ear. And I think sometimes that can be a point of insecurity coming into a photo shoot, thinking, are my pictures going to look good if I am not super flexible? So, do you have advice for adult dancers who are coming into a shoot and maybe their range of motion or flexibility is limited?
I wouldn't worry about it. You will still have great photos. If you want to try to do something with it, if you wanted to do an arabesque or lift your leg to the side or to the front, it doesn't have to be up to your head to be beautiful. 45 degrees, I still think is the best line you can have. That 45-degree range, even a couple inches off the ground is so beautiful. And you have a lot more control when you do that. You can turn your foot out more, you can point your foot more. All extension is beautiful. It does not have to be what you see on the internet.
Yeah, and I love that perspective too, because I think even if you look back on footage and photos from decades ago, the extensions were not crazy like they are now. And I think we've gotten so used to seeing like the very gymnastic type of movement in ballet that that has become the standard in a lot of our minds. But I love what you said about the 45-degree angle, because I agree. Like, I think it's so beautiful. It reminds me, it feels very Giselle to me,
Yes.
beautiful 45-degree line. I think it was the first year that I did a shoot with you. There was a romantic tutu there
Oh,
at the
yes.
shoot that we
Beautiful.
would use. And it's really fun to even lean into, if you wanna do lower extensions or you need to do lower extensions, leaning into that even in the way that you're dressing, like, going for the more, like, romantic era feel, and then it also kind of plays into, having the lower extensions, more of, like, the 45-degree line. So I think there's so many ways that you can make whatever you're capable of work and look great.
One of my favorite poses to go to is like the Degas fourth. Why is that one of the most famous art pieces? Because it's so beautiful and so simple. Like if you get that photo, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool. Like that's a piece of art that I want. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily like, let me kick my leg up.
Yeah.
It's just, it frames beautifully.
Yeah, the Dagon forth with the hands behind the back. Oh, you know what's funny is I
Yes.
just realized, I don't know if you can see it, that right there is the picture you took of me in that exact position.
Oh, is it? I can't. That's awesome. See, it works.
Yeah. To prove the point, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're only listening to audio, I apologize you can't see this, but this is my Katie Ging Degas inspired photo, fourth position, hands behind the back, and it's one of my favorites. Yeah,
Yep.
simple. It's like it's nothing crazy. My legs are tight. That was actually in that photo. I think I had been on point for probably 3 or 4 months. So I wasn't doing a whole lot on point, but I wanted to have my point shoes on. And so, yeah,
And
it
that's
worked out.
perfect. You have them on and that looks
Yeah.
amazing. And you got to show that like adults can do point too. You can
Yeah.
start whenever you want and they're still there and awesome and beautiful.
You can make it work with whatever you have and get great photos. And I think, like, I don't know, you probably could speak to this too. Like, when people come in and are just there to embrace the experience of having a photo shoot, there's
Yeah.
something special that happens.
For sure. It's great. And even the other thing I would recommend too is I would say most of the time when we're working in the adult retreat section, it's probably 90% of the people wanna do it, but there's probably 10% that they really don't want to, and if you don't want to, you don't have to, but I would just give it a try. It's gonna make you a little nerve-wracking, and, like, don't be afraid to, like, maybe ask the photographer or somebody different, like, if I was with you, I'd make sure you're alone and no one is watching, and make it comfortable. You tell me what music you want, and we'll go for it. Even if you get one good photo by yourself, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's such good advice. Be willing to push out of your comfort zone. I get it. I know we all have insecurities, I think, especially as we age, or maybe if we're
Yeah.
new to ballet, and maybe you're seeing other dancers going for their shoots that you know are more advanced, and you're like, my pictures aren't going to look like that. But I think the more you can just step outside your comfort zone, those pictures are such a special way of documenting the journey. I think that's why so many adults, even if they're not getting photo shoots at intensives, are seeking out professional photo shoots, because you realize that it is just such a wonderful thing to have to capture the journey that you're on. Like,
Yeah.
my dance photos mean more to me probably than any other photos I have, just because ballet means so much to me. And so to have pictures of yourself doing the thing that you love and marking the journey is amazing. And so, like, don't let the insecurity or like the fear stop you from having that for yourself.
Yeah, and be very comfortable with your photographer, whoever that is, to talk to them about what those insecurities are, and hopefully they'll work with you to make sure they can have that experience be the best experience for you. It will be a little intimidating, but by the end, it's 100% worth it, like 100%.
Yeah, I agree. So how can people connect with you if they want to work with you specifically, if they want to see your work? How can people find you, follow you?
Yes, thank you so much for asking. I am on Instagram, Facebook, and I have my own website. KatieGingPhotography.com is my website. My Instagram, gotta look that up. It got hacked like 2 years
Oh,
ago. Katie Ging Photography is my Instagram now. And then my Facebook is the same. My number is on my website. You can text me. That's my cell phone. Anybody can text me for any questions, whether you're working with me or working with somebody else. But I do think you should all get your photos taken by somebody. It's definitely worth it.
thank you so much, Katie, for being here. It was so fun chatting with you, and thank you for all of this lovely advice and tips. I think it's going to be super helpful for adult dancers.
Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to see all the adult dancers' photos. Make sure you tag us so we can see how great you guys are doing.
Yes, absolutely. I love that idea. Everyone should post their favorite dance
Yes.
photos and tag so we can see and share.
Even if it's from when you're 5 years old, I'd love to see that too.
Yeah, so fun. Well, thank you so much, and we hope everyone enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to share it with a friend or leave a quick review. It really helps more adult dancers find the podcast. All the links and resources we mentioned today are waiting for you in the show notes. And if you want more adult ballet content in between episodes, come hang out with me on Instagram @thebusybunhead. See you next week after class.